The grand chambers of the Galactic Assembly buzzed with anxious voices. 200 alien species had gathered for an emergency meeting. The massive room featured rising tiers of seats, each filled with creatures of different shapes, sizes, and colors. Some had multiple limbs, others floated in special tanks, and a few existed as pure energy contained in mechanical shells. At the center of this gathering stood Ambassador Zoltar of the Vanguard Collective. His gray skin stretched tight over a tall, thin frame. 4 yellow eyes blinked independently as he addressed the crowd. "Fellow members of the Galactic Assembly," he began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into the standard galactic language. "We face a crisis unlike any in our 50,000 years of peaceful cooperation. The humans have become a problem that cannot be ignored." A murmur spread through the chamber. On the main display screen appeared a map of the galaxy with small, red dots marking human settlements. What had begun as 1.50 years ago now numbered in the hundreds, spreading across 3 sectors. "Their rate of expansion defies all statistical models," continued Zoltar. "What took the Zentari 8 centuries, humans accomplished in less than 1. They adapt too quickly. They change established systems without regard for tradition. They question everything." From her seat, Ambassador Creel of the Orion Alliance raised a tentacle. "Are we not overreacting? Humans have also brought fresh ideas and innovations to our trading networks." Zoltar's upper eyes narrowed. "Perhaps the Orion Alliance enjoys the profits from human trade routes, but at what cost to our stability? Their ships now travel through sectors they were never invited to explore. Their colonies appear on worlds we had reserved for future development." The display changed to show population growth charts. The human line rose at a steep angle compared to the gentle slopes of other species. "Their breeding rate alone would be concerning," said Zoltar. "Combined with their technology adaptation curve, we face a serious problem. In 300 years, they could dominate the galaxy unless we act now." The chief elder of the Phylaxian hive, a small insect-like being, stepped forward. "What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador?" "Containment," replied Zoltar simply. "We have done it before with other dangerous species. We establish energy barriers around their worlds. We limit their expansion. We control their development, far, across the galaxy, on Earth." Commander Elaine Winters walked quickly through the underground hallways of the North American Defense Command. At 42, she had sharp eyes that missed nothing and short brown hair streaked with gray. Her uniform was crisp, her posture perfect. She entered a secure room where 5 people waited around a table. The room had no windows and no electronic devices except for a special communication system designed by Earth's best engineers working with alien technology. "We have a situation," she said without greeting anyone. "Our agent in the assembly just sent an emergency message." She pressed a button and a man's face appeared on the screen. He had dark circles under his eyes and spoke in a rushed whisper. "This is Greg Martinez reporting from Galactic Assembly Station 9. They've just voted. Containment protocols authorized. Earth is to be quarantined, colonies dismantled. A fleet is being assembled as I speak. You have maybe 3 weeks before they reach Earth. Prep defensive measures. Martinez out." The screen went dark. The room remained silent for several seconds. "Could this be a mistake?" asked General Frank Weber, an older man with a thick white mustache. "Martinez has never been wrong before," replied Winters. "And our other sources have been warning about increasing anti-human sentiment in the Assembly." Secretary of Defense Alan Richards, a tall black man with a shaved head, shook his head slowly. "We knew this day might come. From the moment we joined the galactic community, certain factions have viewed us with suspicion. We need to inform the President," said Dr. Carol Bennett, the leading expert on alien psychology. "This will require a global response." An hour later, they all stood in the Oval Office. President Susan Baker listened carefully as Commander Winters explained the situation. The president was in her second term, with silver-streaked black hair pulled back in a neat bun and eyes that reflected both intelligence and worry. "So they've decided we're too dangerous to be allowed to continue unchecked," she said when Winters finished. "What are our options?" Secretary Richards stepped forward with a tablet displaying various calculations and scenarios. Madam President, we're outnumbered trillions to billions. Their technology surpasses ours in most fields, but we have advantages they don't understand. Such as? Asked the President. Creativity under pressure, adaptation to threats, our decentralized command structure, and most importantly, they don't know how much of their technology we've already reverse-engineered. President Baker walked to the window and looked out at the Washington Monument in the distance. I never wanted to lead our species into a conflict with the Galactic Assembly. We've benefited greatly from joining the wider community of worlds. She turned back to face the room. But I will not allow Earth or our colonies to be caged. We should warn the colonies immediately, said Commander Winters. Agreed, nodded the President. But through our secure channels only. If the Assembly detects large-scale communications about this, they might accelerate their timeline. On Colony Epsilon, 12 light-years from Earth, mining engineer Heather Powell finished her shift and stepped outside the main habitat dome. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the rocky landscape. After 3 years on this world, she still marveled at the double moons rising in the purple sky. Heather noticed a group of people pointing upward. She followed their gaze and saw strange lights moving across the night sky. Not meteors, not satellites. These moved with purpose, forming patterns that seemed almost like writing. What do you think those are? Asked Bill Cooper, another engineer standing nearby. Before Heather could answer, all communication devices in the colony beeped simultaneously with an emergency alert. When she checked her device, she saw a brief message. Alert to all colonies. Shelter in place. Possible assembly intervention imminent. Maintain calm and await further instructions. Heather looked back up at the lights, which were growing brighter and more numerous. I think, she said quietly, that's the first wave of visitors who don't plan to leave. Above them, the advanced ships of the containment fleet moved into position. The quarantine of humanity had begun. 3 days after the strange lights appeared in the sky, Colony Epsilon was completely sealed off. A shimmering blue dome of energy covered the entire settlement, extending half a mile into the sky and deep into the ground. No ships could enter or leave. No communications could be sent or received through normal channels. Heather Powell stood at the edge of the mining complex, staring up at the energy field. She reached out a hand, stopping just before touching it. The air hummed with power. I wouldn't touch that if I were you, said a voice behind her. She turned to see Sam Rodriguez, the colony's chief engineer. He was in his late 30s with short black hair and clever eyes that never seemed to stop analyzing everything they saw. What exactly is it? Asked Heather. Some kind of containment field. Advanced alien tech, Sam replied. They've put these up around all 17 human colonies. Earth too, according to the last message that got through. A small crowd had gathered around them, faces worried and confused. So we're prisoners? Someone asked. Sam shook his head. They're not trying to hurt us, they just want to stop us from expanding further. They think we're dangerous. What do we do now? Heather asked. Sam looked up at the energy dome, his expression shifting from concern to curiosity. Their mistake was assuming we'd try to break through it. But what if we could redirect it? On Earth, Commander Elaine Winters prepared her team for a dangerous mission. They gathered in a hidden underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, one of the few places on Earth built specifically to block alien scanning technology. The Assembly thinks they have us trapped, she told the 6 people seated around the table. They believe their containment shields are unbreakable, and from a purely physical perspective, they're right. We can't punch through them with any weapon we have. She activated a holographic display showing a space station orbiting a distant moon. This is Proxima Station, the Assembly's main database facility in our sector. We need the access codes and technical specifications for their containment technology. To get them, we'll need to infiltrate the most secure facility in this part of the galaxy. A tall man with sharp features raised his hand. Commander, how do we even get off Earth with the shield in place? Winters smiled slightly. That's where Kyle Davis comes in. All eyes turned to a quiet man sitting at the end of the table. He looked ordinary in every way. Average height, brown hair, plain features. Nothing about him suggested anything special. Kyle has a rare neurological condition, Winters explained. His brain patterns can't be read by telepathic species. The assembly's security systems rely heavily on telepathic scanning to detect human thought patterns. Kyle is invisible to them. Kyle nodded slightly, uncomfortable with the attention. We've also discovered something about the shields, Winters continued. They're programmed to contain human technology signatures, but we have 5 ships with alien engines we've modified. The shields won't recognize them as human. In Washington, D.C., President Susan Baker met with Dr. Linda Morgan, the country's leading xenobiologist. They walked through the Rose Garden, a place still free from electronic surveillance. "Tell me something hopeful, Doctor," said the president. Dr. Morgan was a slender woman with graying red hair and intense focus in her eyes. "We've been analyzing the containment field around Earth. It's designed to disrupt our technology, but have minimal effect on their own. We believe we can invert the wavelength." "Meaning what exactly?" "Meaning we might be able to use their containment field as a power source for our own technology. Turn their cage into our weapon." The president stopped walking. "Can we break free?" "Not directly," Dr. Morgan replied. "But we might be able to communicate through their shield, maybe even use their own network against them." On Colony Epsilon, Sam Rodriguez led a team of engineers working day and night on his plan. They had converted the main mining laser into a specialized energy conductor. Instead of trying to cut through the containment shield, they were attempting to tap into it. "One more connection," Sam said as he connected 2 thick cables. "Now we see if theory becomes reality." Heather Powell stood at the controls, fingers hovering over the activation switch. "Ready when you are." "Do it," Sam said. Heather flipped the switch. For a moment nothing happened. Then the entire mining complex lit up as power surged through their systems. Lights that had been dimmed to conserve energy now blazed at full brightness. Machines hummed back to life. "It works," Heather shouted. "We're drawing power from their shield." Sam wasn't celebrating yet. Power is just the first step. Now for the hard part, communication. They worked for 2 more days, modifying their communication array to work with the new power source. On the 3rd day, they were ready to test it. "If this works," Sam told the colony leaders gathered in the control room, "we'll be able to broadcast through the shield using the shield's own energy signature." "And if it doesn't work?" asked the colony governor. "Then we try something else," Sam replied simply. "Humans don't give up easily." He activated the system. The lights dimmed briefly as power was redirected. On the main screen, they watched as their signal strength indicator climbed higher and higher. In space, aboard the assembly containment vessel monitoring Colony Epsilon, an alarm sounded. The ship's commander, a tall insectoid being, clicked rapidly to his communications officer. "What is happening?" he demanded. "The humans," replied the officer in disbelief. "They're using our containment field to boost their own signal. They're broadcasting to all human colonies simultaneously." "Impossible, shut it down." "I cannot. The signal is using our own energy frequency. Across 17 human colonies and on Earth itself, all communication screens suddenly activated. The face of President Susan Baker appeared, calm and determined. "People of Earth and our colony worlds, as you know, the Galactic Assembly has placed us under containment, fearing our rapid growth and adaptation. They hope to isolate us, limit us, eventually perhaps even eliminate us as a galactic power." She paused, her expression resolute. "But they have fundamentally misunderstood what makes humanity special. We don't just survive pressure, we thrive under it. We don't just endure challenges, we overcome them. The Assembly believes these shields will contain us. Instead, they will unite us." The president leaned forward slightly, her voice firm and clear. "To all humans across the stars, we aren't alone. We aren't defeated. We adapt. Stand ready. This is not the end of humanity's journey among the stars. It is only the beginning of a new chapter. We will prevail." As the message ended, people Across many worlds stood a little straighter, hope replacing fear in their eyes. The containment of humanity had begun. So had the resistance. 3 months had passed since the containment began. In the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Assembly, tension filled the air. Security Director Zahn Voss stood before the gathered representatives, his normally blue skin now pale with worry. "Honored members of the Assembly," he began, "I must report disturbing developments regarding the human containment operation." He waved a clawed hand, and the central display showed a map of the containment fleet. Several vessels were marked with red, warning symbols. In the past 6 weeks, 23 ships from our containment fleet have gone missing. Communication outposts near human colonies have fallen silent. We are facing unexpected resistance. A representative from the Mentari Collective rose. "How can this be possible? Their technology is centuries behind ours. The containment fields should be unbreakable." "We have underestimated their capacity for asymmetric warfare," Zahn Voss replied. "They are using our own technologies against us in ways we never anticipated." On the colony world New Frontier, Jack Collins worked in a hidden underground bunker. The former mechanic had never imagined he would become a resistance fighter. Before the containment, he had repaired mining equipment and lived a quiet life. Now he led a team of engineers reverse engineering alien technology. "Look at this," he said to the group gathered around him. He held up what appeared to be a small crystal. "This is from the communication system of a patrol ship we disabled last week. It's the key to their quantum network." His assistant, Maria Ramirez, looked skeptical. "Even if we can access their network, what good does it do? We still can't break through the shields." Jack smiled. "Breaking through isn't the plan. Listening in is." He connected the crystal to a modified human computer. The screen filled with alien text and symbols. "We can now hear everything they say," Jack explained. "Fleet movements, security protocols, command codes. We've become ghosts in their system." Across the galaxy, on 17 human worlds, similar breakthroughs were happening. Humans were forming a network of resistance cells. They called themselves ghosts, invisible to the conventional scanning methods of the assembly species. In the shadows of space, Commander Elaine Winters' small ship approached Proxima Station. From the outside, it looked like a standard assembly, maintenance vessel. Inside, Winters and her team prepared for the most dangerous mission humanity had ever attempted. "Final equipment check," Winters ordered. Kyle Davis secured his special suit, designed to mask his biological signatures. "Ready, Commander." "Remember," Winters told her team, "we have 18 minutes from docking to reach the central database. Any longer, and their security systems will detect the inconsistencies in our ship's identification codes." Their ship docked with Proxima Station. The team moved through the corridors, their modified suits making them appear as Zentari maintenance workers to the station's security systems. They reached the central database chamber. Kyle stepped forward, placing his hand on the security panel. The unique nature of his brain allowed him to bypass the telepathic security screen. "I'm in," he said as the massive doors slid open. Inside, columns of crystal data storage rose from floor to ceiling. Winters connected their specialized device to the main terminal. "Download beginning," she said. 12 minutes until completion. As data flowed into their device, Kyle noticed something strange in the database structure. "Commander, I think you should see this." He pointed to a section of the database labeled Containment Protocols, Historical. "We don't have time for detours," Winters said. "Trust me," Kyle insisted. "This is important." Winters nodded. Kyle accessed the section, and what they found shocked them. "They've done this before," Kyle whispered. 6 other species, all contained and eventually eliminated. All for the same reason, unpredictable adaptation rates that threatened galactic stability. Winters studied the data. These civilizations were all developing too quickly, just like us. The assembly contained them, and within a few centuries they had either died out or regressed to pre-industrial states. They're afraid of change, Kyle realized. Their civilizations have been stable for so long they see rapid adaptation as an existential threat. An alarm sounded. "Security breach detected," announced a computerized voice. "We've been compromised," Winters said. "Grab what we have and go." They fled back to their ship, barely escaping as Proxima Station's defense systems activated. On Earth, Dr. Linda Morgan led a team of scientists developing a new approach to the containment problem. Instead of fighting the alien technology, they were studying it, learning from it. "The breakthrough came when we stopped seeing the shield as an enemy," she explained to President Baker in a secure underground facility. "It's not just a wall. It's a complex technological system that we can learn from." Her team had taken components from the containment field generators and integrated them into human technology. The result was a hybrid system that worked more efficiently than either human or alien tech alone. "We're not just adapting to their technology," Dr. Morgan said. "We're improving it." President Baker watched as a demonstration unit powered up. The energy efficiency was remarkable. "Can this help us break free?" she asked. "Eventually, perhaps," Dr. Morgan replied. "But right now, it gives us something more valuable, proof that humans don't just resist containment. We assimilate the very tools used against us." In the Galactic Assembly, an emergency session had been called. Reports from all sectors confirmed their worst fears. Human resistance was growing, not diminishing. Security Director Zahn Voss addressed the assembly again. "We've lost contact with Proxima Station. Our intelligence suggests humans have accessed our central database." Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. "What did they learn?" demanded Ambassador Zoltar. "We believe they now know about our previous containment operations," Zahn Voss replied. "And worse, they've begun to use our own quantum communication network. They're communicating between colonies despite the containment fields." From the highest tier of the assembly chamber, Elder Representative Tal Moore spoke. His species was the oldest in the galaxy, nearly 1 billion years of continuous civilization. "Perhaps," he said in a voice that crackled with age, "we should consider another approach. In my lifetime, I have seen 6 species contained. Never have any resisted as effectively as the humans. Across human colonies, the resistance gained momentum. On Colony Epsilon, Sam Rodriguez had transformed the mining facility into a communications hub. Using the alien quantum network they had hacked, he coordinated with other colonies. The patrol fleet near Gamma Colony will be diverted," he told Heather Powell. "That gives us the window we need to get our scout ship past their sensors." Heather nodded. "The more we learn about their systems, the more vulnerable they become." Sam looked at the map showing human colonies spread across 3 sectors. "They thought they could isolate us, turn us against each other. Instead, we've never been more united." On the main screen, data streamed in from Commander Winter's mission. The secrets of the assembly were being revealed, their vulnerabilities exposed. "They're afraid of us," Sam said softly. "Not because of what we are, but because of what we might become." The containment of humanity had been meant to prevent their expansion. Instead, it had accelerated their innovation. What the assembly feared most was beginning to happen. Humans were adapting at a rate that defied all predictions, and they were just getting started. On the frozen moon of Titan orbiting Saturn, Diane Foster worked alone in a hidden observatory. Before the containment, she had been a respected astronomer studying distant star systems. Now her skills served the resistance. The observatory was buried beneath the surface, safe from the assembly's scanning systems. Its powerful telescopes pointed not at nearby stars but at the very edge of the galaxy. Diane studied the data on her screen with growing concern. For weeks, she had noticed strange radiation patterns coming from that distant region. Today, she finally understood what she was seeing. She opened a secure channel to Earth using the quantum network that Jack Collins had hacked. "This is Foster on Titan. I need to speak with President Baker immediately. Priority Alpha." 20 minutes later, Diane faced a holographic projection of President Baker, Commander Winters, and Dr. Morgan. "What have you found?" asked the President. Diane displayed her data. The galaxy is approaching a radiation band that appears once every 50,000 years. According to my calculations, it will reach our sector in approximately 18 months. What kind of radiation? Dr. Morgan asked. The kind that destroys all organic life not properly shielded, Diane replied. The last time this happened, according to the geological record, it caused mass extinctions across thousands of worlds. President Baker's expression grew grim. Do the assembly species know about this? They must, Diane said. A civilization that old would have records. In fact, she hesitated. I believe this may be why they contained us now. They're preparing for the radiation band and they don't want to share resources. Commander Winters, now back from her mission to Proxima Station, nodded slowly. That fits with what we found in their database. The assembly survives these events by retreating to heavily shielded core worlds. They sacrifice newer member species to preserve the oldest civilizations. So the containment wasn't just about fear of our adaptability, President Baker said. It was also about controlling resources needed for the coming catastrophe. Dr. Morgan looked thoughtful. Our hybrid technology, the shields we've been developing by combining human innovation with alien tech, could they protect against this radiation? Theoretically, Diane replied, if we could scale them up enough to cover entire planets. The president made a difficult decision. We need to share this information with all colonies immediately. And then we need to make a choice. Continue our increasingly successful resistance, or attempt to reach out to the assembly with our solution. On Colony Epsilon, now a center for human resistance, Sam Rodriguez received the data from Titan. He studied it carefully with Heather Powell and the colony's leadership. If Foster is right, Sam said, we have 18 months to prepare for, something that could wipe out most life in our sector of the galaxy. Can our shields protect us? Asked the colony governor. Sam pulled up the schematics for their latest hybrid shield technology. Yes, but we'd need to increase power output by at least 300%. And we'd need to share this technology with every human colony. What about Earth? Heather asked. What about the other species in the galaxy? Sam looked at her. That's the bigger question, isn't it? Do we just save ourselves, or do we try to save everyone, even those who tried to contain us? Deep in space, Commander Winters and Kyle Davis had infiltrated another assembly facility. This one was smaller than Proxima Station, a research outpost where the assembly studied the coming radiation band. Look at these evacuation plans, Kyle said, pointing at the screen. They're only planning to evacuate 7% of the galaxy's population to the shielded core worlds. Winters reviewed the data. Primary evacuation for the founding species only. Limited spots for secondary species. Nothing for tertiary members, which includes humans. They're planning to sacrifice trillions of beings, Kyle said, his voice tight with anger. Not if we can stop them, Winters replied. Download everything. Earth needs to see this. President Baker sat alone in the Oval Office, weighing the most difficult decision of her career. The latest reports from all colonies showed that the human resistance was succeeding beyond all expectations. The assembly's containment was failing. With another 6 months, humans might be able to break free entirely, but the radiation band wouldn't wait. Billions would die if nothing changed. Her secure communication device chimed. Madam President, said her aide, the council is ready for you. In the underground situation room, leaders from Earth and representatives from the colonies gathered via secure holographic links. Commander Winters presented the latest intelligence. The assembly is preparing their core worlds for the radiation event. They have sufficient shielding technology to protect perhaps 100 key planets. Earth and our colonies are not on that list. Dr. Morgan spoke next. Our hybrid shield technology is showing incredible promise. In testing, it's already proving more effective than the assembly's static shields. Our systems adapt to changing radiation patterns in real time, something their technology can't do. President Baker looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. We face a choice. We can continue our resistance, focus on saving ourselves, and let the assembly deal with the consequences of their choices. Or we can reach out and offer our solution. Why would we help them? Asked the governor of New Frontier. They tried to contain us, limit us, eventually eliminate us as a threat. Because, the president replied, this isn't about the assembly. It's about saving lives, trillions of them across thousands of worlds. After hours of debate, the council reached a decision. President Baker would authorize a dangerous plan. Diane Foster, the astronomer who discovered the radiation threat, would present the human solution to the assembly, offering to share the technology in exchange for humanity's freedom. 2 days later, Diane Foster stood before the Galactic Assembly. The massive chamber fell silent as the human walked to the central platform. Guards watched her carefully, weapons ready. Members of the Galactic Assembly, she began, her voice steady despite her fear. I come before you with knowledge of the approaching radiation band that threatens our galaxy. Gasps and whispers spread through the room. We know about your evacuation plans, she continued. We know you intend to save only a fraction of the galaxy's population. We also know your shielding technology is insufficient to protect more than your core worlds. Ambassador Zoltar stood angrily. This human has accessed classified information. She should be arrested immediately. But Elder Representative Tal Moore raised a hand for silence. Let her speak. What knowledge do humans possess about the radiation band? Diane activated a holographic display showing the hybrid shield technology developed on Earth. We have created a new type of shield by merging human innovation with the containment technology you used against us. Our shields adapt to radiation patterns in real time, making them far more efficient than static barriers. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives called for her immediate execution. Others demanded to see the research. Elder Tal Moore's ancient voice cut through the noise. For 100 million years, our collective civilizations have survived by controlling change. Perhaps that approach has reached its limit. He turned his ancient eyes to Diane. Tell us, human, what do you propose? Diane Foster looked around the chamber, at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. We offer to share our technology with all species of the galaxy, in exchange for humanity's freedom. Together we can save not just the founding worlds, but all worlds. The assembly chamber grew quiet as the representatives considered what this meant. The human problem had just become the galaxy's solution. 1 month after Diane Foster's presentation to the Galactic Assembly, a test was scheduled on a small, uninhabited moon in neutral space. Representatives from 30 major species gathered to witness the demonstration of the human hybrid shield technology. The moon orbited a gas giant in a system far from any inhabited worlds. Assembly scientists had confirmed it would be the first to experience the radiation band's effects in the coming months. President Baker stood with Dr. Morgan and Ambassador Zoltar, watching as the shield generators were positioned around the moon's surface. The president had taken a significant risk by coming in person, but she felt it necessary to show humanity's commitment. Your shield design is quite elegant, admitted Zoltar reluctantly. His attitude toward humans had softened, only slightly since their last encounter, though I still have doubts about its effectiveness. The proof will be in the results, Dr. Morgan replied calmly. We've combined your containment field technology with our adaptive systems. The shield will respond to changes in radiation patterns automatically. The head scientist, a Zentari named Chief Researcher Velon, approached the group. We are ready to begin. The first wave of test radiation will arrive in 5 minutes. They moved to the observation chamber, a heavily shielded room, with large viewing screens. Scientists from a dozen worlds worked at control stations monitoring the equipment. Shield systems online, reported Sam Rodriguez, who had been selected to operate the human technology. Heather Powell stood nearby, ready to assist if needed. The countdown began. Everyone watched the screens as the radiation wave approached. The moon. It appeared as a shimmering curtain of light, beautiful but deadly. Radiation wave contact in 3, 2, 1, announced Velon. The wave struck the shield. For a moment, the barrier flickered, adjusting to the radiation patterns. Then it stabilized, glowing brightly as it absorbed and redirected the energy. Shield. Holding at 98% efficiency, Sam reported. Adapting to radiation patterns automatically. The readings were clear. The hybrid shields were performing beyond even the humans' expectations, adjusting to the radiation patterns in real time, something the assembly's static technology could not do. Remarkable, whispered Zoltar. Other assembly representatives looked equally impressed, though some seemed uncomfortable with the implications. When the test concluded, the results were undeniable. The human hybrid shields were 3 times more effective than the assembly's best technology. With these shields, not just 100 worlds could be protected, but thousands. 3 days later, the full Galactic Assembly gathered to vote on humanity's proposal. The chamber was packed with species from across the galaxy in attendance. Elder Representative Tal Moore addressed the gathering. For countless millennia, our assembly has maintained stability in the galaxy. When faced with species that threatened this stability through rapid advancement, we contained them. 6 times we have done this, and 6 times those species either perished or regressed. He turned his ancient eyes toward the human delegation. Now we face the 7th such species, but in a time of galactic crisis. The humans have offered us a solution to the coming radiation ban that our own technology cannot match. Ambassador Zoltar spoke next. I have been humanity's greatest critic in this chamber. I led the vote for their containment because I truly believed they represented a danger to our established order. But I have witnessed their shield technology firsthand. It is superior to our own, and it may be our only hope of protecting all worlds, not just the privileged few. The debate lasted hours. Some representatives argued that accepting human help would undermine the Assembly's authority. Others claimed it was a trap, that humans would use this opportunity to seize power. Finally, the vote was called. One by one, the species voted. When the results appeared on the central display, even President Baker seemed surprised. In an unprecedented move, the Assembly had voted to end the containment protocols and establish a new relationship with humanity, not as subjects to be controlled, but as equals bringing necessary change. The following day, President Baker addressed the Assembly. Adaptation isn't just a human trait, it's the fundamental principle of life itself. You've been fighting against the very force that created your civilizations. Together we can face this crisis and forge a stronger galaxy for all species. Over the next several months, humans worked alongside former enemies, installing the new shield technology on worlds across the galaxy. The integration wasn't always smooth. Centuries of xenophobia and fear didn't disappear overnight. On some worlds, humans faced hostility. On others, they were welcomed as saviors. On the Assembly's central world, Commander Elaine Winters, now serving as Earth's security representative, met with Security Director Zahn Voss. They stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city as workers installed shield generators on tall buildings. Your species adapts quickly to new situations, Zahn Voss observed. It is both your greatest strength and what makes you so concerning to established order. Change is inevitable, Winters replied. Fighting it only wastes energy better spent directing it. Later that day, she confronted Ambassador Zoltar in the Assembly chambers. You tried to eliminate us because you feared what we represent, she said directly. Yes, Zoltar admitted after a pause. Your kind forces change at a rate we find disturbing. But perhaps the galaxy has been stable for too long. Stagnation can be its own form of death. 6 months later, the radiation band began to pass through the galaxy. On world after world, the new adaptive shields held. For the first time in recorded galactic history, no worlds were abandoned, no species sacrificed. 1 year after the radiation band had passed, the Galactic Assembly was dissolved. In its place arose the Galactic Council, with representatives from all species sitting as equals. The new council chamber featured a motto inscribed above the entrance: Adaptation ensures survival. On Colony Epsilon, now a thriving center for multi-species scientific research, Sam Rodriguez walked through the main plaza. Where once only humans had lived, now dozens of species worked together. He paused to watch a group of children playing, human children alongside the offspring of species that had once tried to contain humanity. They were right to fear us, he told Heather Powell as she joined him. We do change everything we touch. But sometimes, she replied, that's exactly what's needed. On Earth, President Baker met with her successor after completing her final term in office. As they stood in the Oval Office, Earth's first alien ambassador waited to present credentials to the new president. Did you ever imagine it would turn out this way? The new president asked. When they first put us under containment? President Baker smiled. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. The assembly sought to limit us, but in doing so, they created exactly the conditions under which humans thrive best. Pressure, challenge, and the need to adapt. On Titan, Diane Foster had expanded her observatory into a multi-species research center. She stood at the main telescope, now pointed toward distant galaxies far beyond their own. Beside her stood a young Zentari scientist eager to learn. What are we looking for? The Zentari asked. New civilizations, Diane replied. New ideas. New ways of thinking. The galaxy, for the first time in millions of years, was evolving again, and humanity, once considered the most dangerous species in known space, had become its greatest catalyst for change.